Hello and welcome back everyone, this is Dranon with more Warframe and with the next part of the tutorial series. Because we have more consoles to go to and to go through before we actually get to the game related or gameplay related stuff downstairs. We have talked in the previous parts about the navigation console, the syndicate console and the market, so now it is time for the Codex. And as I will talk about the Codex, I will also talk about the mastery rank, how you increase your mastery rank and what your mastery rank is actually good for, aside from people apparently judging your skill based on that, which is nonsense, frankly. So the Codex is basically your in-game library database thingy in which you can check what you have learned about things. It shows you how far you have leveled which item, which items you possess, which mods you possess, which mods there actually are. Same goes for items. And it also shows you which enemies you learned something about, or more which enemies you scanned, which is how you actually learn something about them and get more info about them for the Codex. I showed you in the previous video where to obtain the Codex scanner, where to equip it. I will show you as many other things I notice when I get to the arsenal. So let's have a look at the Codex, shall we? So when you look at the Codex, you see that there is various tabs at the top. We have the universe, training, quests and missions, as well as different fields to choose from on the pages. The universe one is one of the two most important ones here, which is why I will go through that in a bit. The other important one is the quests tab. The training and missions are pretty much only informational, so I will go through those first. So when you go through to training, there you have all the different mechanics of the game in text form. So if you want to learn something about, let's say, damage, you click on that and then you get some information in text form that you can read through and see what you can learn about that. There's multiple steps. Apparently there's no way to go back before you have gone through all of those. But part of the reason I do those videos is that I want to talk about those things in my upcoming videos. Damage will be covered when I get to, maybe you can guess it, to the arsenal, and also when I get into the game later. You can read something about Sentinels, the new Melee 2.0 system, which again I will talk about when I get to a mission. Clans, Dark Sector Synthesis, which is a mechanic that you will be introduced as part of a quest that's a bit further down the line, not too high. I am actually not sure about the mastery requirements of the quests, but I think you will have all quests available by mastery rank 4, sorry. And also the general basics and advanced movements, as well as upgrades and mods and crafting in the foundry are covered here as well. So basically everything that I'm covering in my videos is covered here as well, but if you rather have someone show and explain it to you at the same time, I guess videos are a better way to do it than just text. When you go to the missions tab, you have the same thing. It will show you all available missions in the game, all the different mission types, and as you can see there is quite a lot of those. Assassinations, capture missions, deception missions, defense, excavation, extermination, hijack, hive sabotage, interception, invasion, mobile defense, recovery, which is actually not a thing anymore. I think it's part of one of the quests, but that's about it. Then we have rescue, sabotage, spy, survival, trials, which are the 8-player raids, Cephalon capture, annihilation, and team annihilation. So the last 3 would be the conclave modes. So especially the last 4, trials, Cephalon capture, annihilation, and team annihilation, are not that important yet if you're just starting out with the game.
may require maintenance after all.
Everything else you will come across sooner or later, especially since the first nodes go through the various mission kinds, so through the various kinds of missions, one by one, until you have seen them all. Except the Hive Sabotage, which is not coming up until the higher levels. So before I go to the universe, I would like to go to the quests. Also because this is kind of what the game starts you off with. I won't go into detail on the quests because of spoilers, so if you want to learn more about a particular quest, your best bet is to either read up on it or to, well, just do it if you have the game. So the first quest that you will start with is War's Prize, which is where you start right away, even before you get into your liset, and it will lead you through the first, I would say, about an hour to 2 of the game, by giving you various objectives that you have to fulfill, and as you do that, you will acquire all the different consoles for your ship. There are some story quests. Let me try to remember which are the story quests and which are not. War's Prize is definitely a story quest. Once Awake is, I think, the follow-up to that. Then there is more story quests with Archwing, which you get with Mastery Rank 2, if I recall correctly, and the Natar and Second Dream quest are some of the most story-heavy quests, and especially the Second Dream has one of the biggest revelations in the whole game, especially when you are an older player and have wondered about some things. But I do not really want to talk about that in detail. I will cover one of the Second Dream mechanics in a later video, but not in any of the other videos, mostly because I do still want to prevent spoilers for the people who have not done the quest. But as you can see, there's a lot of other quests. There is a Howl of the Kubrow quest, which starts when you beat the boss on Venus, when you beat the Jackal the first time, and it is a quest during which you will acquire your first Kubrow. There is a Man of Few Words, which is a nice little quest that's kinda a side quest thing. Patient Zero is the quest, if I recall correctly, where you acquire the access to the boss where you can farm the Mesa Warframe. The Jorda's Precept is required in order to obtain the Atlas Warframe, or to be able to access the boss to farm the Atlas Warframe. The New Strange Eye is, I think, the quest, yeah, that should be the quest, if I recall correctly, where you get the Chroma Warframe, so you get it as rewards for the different quest steps. Stolen Dreams is the pre-quest to that. And then we have the Limbo Theorem, which is a quest during which you will get the Limbo Warframe, and Hidden Messages, during which you will get the Mirage Warframe. So there's 3 Warframes directly tied to a quest, which are Mirage, Limbo, and Chroma. The other ones, Atlas and Mesa, you can just be taken there without having done the quest, but doing the quest, of course, helps you to first understand a bit more about the world, but it will also enable you to get everything that's needed to access the node initially. And that at this point is all I'd like to say about quests. Some of them will just pop up. What I would like to say is that in order to do the Natar quest, you have to scan a particular enemy on the Uranus missions. And that's all I want to say about that. All the other quests, I think some of them you can buy on the market. I showed it in the last video. The Hidden Messages and Limbo Theorem quests can be bought there. As well as I think the draw this precept, but I'm not quite sure about that. But yeah, those two can definitely be bought there, and once you have bought the further thing on the market, then you can start the quest. As I said, Nata is not started directly. You have encounter a special kind of enemy, scan it, and then the quest will be available for you to use. So whenever a new patch comes with a new quest, it is worth to check the Codex, go to the quest tab, and see if you can just start it. If you want to start a quest, you just click it here and click begin. I will, because it does not really tell much, show you that here with Limbo Serum Blueprint, with the Limbo Serum quest, sorry. I read Blueprint here everywhere, so which is why I kinda got confused there. So I will also show you here, I can show you the mission steps without too much of a spoiler. So it starts with check your inbox messages for a message and a blueprint. Then you have to craft the Limbo Helmet Serum and the Limbo Helmets and the Limbo System Serum, the Limbo Systems, and so on and so forth. So you craft the next step of the quest, then you get the part, you craft it, and when you have that, you go to the next part. And the nice guy with the fancy hat you can see here is the Limbo Warframe. If you have not yet completed the quest and it is not your active quest, you can always only have one quest active. Then you can choose down here where it says back on my screen to begin the quest. And that is it for quests. So let's have a bit of a look at the universe. So as I said, the universe part of the Codex contains a lot of information about things that you don't own, about things that you own, and shows you how far you have progressed with them. That goes for all of the areas except the art gallery. The art gallery is pretty much just a bunch of concept art, but also fan art. Some nice things here. If you like to look at those, you can just do that. I'm not 100% sure what they are unlocked by. I know that I did not have all of it unlocked initially, but by time, if anything is locked, you will more than likely unlock it. So let's start out with the ones to the lower left, the oddities and the objects. The oddities, there is not much here. They are so-called Kurias, which are little hidden objects that are scattered across all levels, and you can scan them in order to complete this. I guess you can call it a bit of a challenge. You can see here I have not done much of it. I have scanned exactly one, which is this here. So they give you a bit of more information, and when you have all of them, I think you get either a sigil or an emblem to put onto your Warframe. So it's just a nice little extra, nothing that you have to do, but at least something that gives you something to show off if you manage to do that. Then in the objects area, this is pretty much neutral objects, I guess you can say. And those are all objects that you can scan during missions. So if I were, for example, go to the abandoned storage container, there you can see it says the name here. There's not much info about those. You see a nice close-up image of it, and it tells you how many scans you need to get the full information about this. In this case, I have scanned this object container 13 times, and I would need to scan it 12 times to have it first complete, and second have this nice little laurel symbol here at the top right. And as you can see, there's a couple of those that are scattered across the levels, and those here I have not scanned yet. They are all undiscovered, which for the most part means I have not encountered them yet, apparently, because usually I scan everything that's not familiar to me. And you can also see that there is different kinds of containers. If you look here, this is a common Grenier storage container. Here we have an uncommon one, and here's even a rare one. So the storage containers are kind of bound to their tile set, so the Grenier storage containers are of course on Grenier tile sets, and there is 3 kinds of them: common, uncommon, and rare. And rare means really rare. I found like maybe 5 of those in the past half year or something like that. I didn't play too much, but yeah, they are definitely only there every couple missions. And they contain loot. of course. When you destroy them, you get loot out of them. So not much else to see there. So let's have a look at the companion tab. This is all the different companions, and those weapons are the sentinel weapons that you can have. So as you can see, there is 5 breeds of Kubro. There's a Chaser, the Huras, Rexa, Sahasa and Sunika. When you breed a Kubro, it is random which one you get, unless you use the imprints for them, which I talked a bit about when I was talking about them on the market. And when you have leveled the breed of Kubro to 30, then you have this nice little, this is for example a Chaser Kubro, which fetches loot for you. Then you have the symbol in the top right. Same goes for the sentinels. So at this point it would be a good idea, I guess, to talk about item leveling. How do you level stuff? You bring it with you into missions. Every item, every companion, every weapon, every Warframe can be leveled from 0 to 30. When it is level 30, it is at max level. And at this point, you have all the info about it that you can get. But also, whenever you level a piece of equipment, you will get mastery experience, which will contribute towards your mastery rank. But what is important is that each item only counts once. So if you were, for example, to level the Helios Sentinel here, you have it leveled up to level 16, then for some reason, whenever you sell it and build another one later, you will not get any additional mastery experience until the Helios is 16 again, and then you will get mastery experience again for the upcoming levels. The amount of mastery experience that you get from an item is set. The companions, both Kubros and Sentinels, if I recall correctly at least, give 200 mastery experience per level. The Sentinels weapons give you 100 mastery experience per level. Normal weapons give you 100 per level, and Warframes and Archwings are at 300. So as you can see, it makes sense to level various things to increase your mastery rank, and at this moment it would be a good idea to actually tell you why you would want to do that in the first place. There's a couple of things tied to your mastery rank. The first I already mentioned when I was talking about syndicates. The higher your mastery rank, the higher the standing is that you can earn each day for your syndicates. That's the first thing. The second thing is there is mastery locked weapons. The last weapon that you can get is the Dragon Icana, and if I recall correctly, this is at mastery rank 8. There's also a slight cap on the so-called relays, which are special areas where you can go to meet other players and do certain things. For example, all the syndicates are there. And there's also a couple other rooms that are unique to the relay, and I actually think I will cover the relay on their own in another video, just to show a bit what you can do there. And there are 3 relays, and they are mastery rank locked. But I'm actually not quite sure which mastery rank they are at. The first one is on the Mercury planet, the second one is on Saturn, and the last one is on Pluto. And the Pluto one is the highest one, and thus requires you to have a slightly higher mastery rank in order to even be able to go there. And one more thing that mastery rank is tied to is the number of trades that you can do each day. I think the number of trades is 1 plus your mastery rank, or exactly your mastery rank, and you can trade from mastery rank 2 onwards. So the number of trades per day is limited by that as well. There's another thing that's locked, that's tied to your mastery rank, which I will again talk about when I get to the arsenal. I have a feeling I might want to do a couple videos about the arsenal, because there's a lot of stuff that's kind of getting together there. As you may have noticed, I kept telling you that I will talk about things when we get to the arsenal. So similar to the companions, we have the Warframes and Archwings. You will have all the Warframes and Archwings listed here, even if you don't own them, and again they will have the symbol in the top right when you have leveled this one as far as you can level them. So if you want info about a Warframe, you just click it. For example, Atlas. You can see Titan of Stone, Lord of the Earthly Elementals. You see his name, his base stats, and then again his 4 skills. His first, second, third skill, and the fourth skill, which is also called his ultimate, and I will talk about that again when I come to the arsenal, and even more when I get into the game. So that's a bit of info about the frames and their abilities, so that you can determine a bit better which one you might like. Because as you can see, the number of Warframes available is not exactly small. And the last 4 items here are the Archwings, again marked with the little Archwing icon. Those will be used in, you maybe guess it, in the Archwing missions, and are sorta separate from your Warframes. And also are always listed behind them in the Codex, which is good, because if they would be in between them, it would be a bit inconvenient to look info about them up. And what you also see here is which frames have been primed. As you can see, Ash has been primed, Ember has been primed, Excalibur has been primed, Frost has been primed, Loki has been primed, Mech has been primed, and so on. You can see it easily, and as time continues going, more Warframes will be primed. The next one is supposedly Saren, which should be known in February, I think. The Prime access is kinda due to change. The last one was Trinity, who was released, and it is fairly sure, because it was kinda announced, that Saren will be the next one. The biggest difference between a normal Warframe and a Prime Warframe is, one, the looks. As you can see, the Prime Warframes are all have nice golden ornaments and look way more fancy, but they also are better in stats. If I were, for example, to look at Ash, when you look at his base stats, he has 150 health, 100 shields, 65 armor and 100 power. And when you look at Ash Prime, you see same health, he has more shields and way more armor than the normal one. So not only are they nice and fancy, they are also simply better than their originals. And that goes for all Prime Warframes. Excalibur Prime is a special case, because you cannot obtain that anymore, because it was a founder-only item. Only people who bought the founder packs, which were available until like half a year to a year after the game started on Steam, only those people who got those were able to acquire Excalibur Prime. So that's it for the Warframes and Archwings. The weapons, again, similar thing. All the weapons available are listed here. The weapons that you don't have, you can see how many weapons there are. Again, there is Archwing weapons in here as well. And the weapons that you don't own are listed here as well, if you can obtain them. There is 2 weapons that I cannot get anymore, because they were early beta. One was a closed beta participant reward, and one was available in the first weekend of the open beta, I think, which is the Breton Vandal and the Lato Vandal. Those can't be acquired anymore. I don't have them, and they are not listed in my Codex. That aside, you can see there's so many weapons available. Those are, by the way, all weapons that you can get in the game, because I actually have every weapon that you can obtain, except of those 4 here. But I'm working on that. But everything else, yeah, you can see, if there's so many weapons to level, that you will also easily find a weapon that you like. And as you can see at the top here, primed weapon, there's the Egg Bronco and the Egg Bronco Prime. Another primed one is the Boar, which has a Boar Prime, Boltor has a Boltor Prime, and so on. The only weapons that are getting primed are actually the Tenno weapons. I'd like to mention, at least this far it has been like that. There's kind of 4 tech types of weapons, which would be Tenno, Grineer, Corpus, and Infested. Tenno weapons are, for example, something like the Ekbolto or the Eklato, which are kinda, to some extent, fancy looking, but also sort of standard design. The Grineer stuff is something like the Ekkenbrand, and let me show you one that sticks out a bit more, the Ogress, which is a missile launcher. So the Grineer have more like fairly visceral, heavy-hitting weapons. The corpus have high-tech weapons like the Opticore, which is a heavy laser rifle, or more a laser cannon. But also stuff like... there's beam weapons as well, like, the Gamma Core is not a corpus weapon. The Flux rifle here is, for example, one which is simply a beam rifle. And something like the Embolist and Dual Ichor are infested weapons, which you can see already on the design. When you look at them, they look not exactly healthy. They look organic. That was the word I was looking for. So that's a different kind of weapons that you have. And the weapon types are scattered across all the different types. So if you like, for example, an assault rifle, you will probably find one with all of them in one way or another. And then you can also look at just melee weapons, just primary weapons, and just secondary weapons. This is good when you just want to check what is available and maybe have a look at the weapons and see which one you might like. So that's those first parts covered, which leaves two left, enemies and mods. So in the enemies tab, yes, you guess it, you can see all the enemies that there are in the game. And again, there is not exactly a small number of them. How do you get info about them? Let me show you in one example why you would even want to do that. For example, if I were to click on the Anti-Mower Eximus down here, you can see I have only scanned it once, out of 3 times. And I don't even know in which regions you can find them. So this is the info that you can actually get from the Codex directly. You can look it up on the wiki, no problem. But this way you can look it up in-game. And when I show you the mods area, you will also see another reason why it is helpful to actually have the enemies scanned. So as you can see, not all scans, there is not much known about it. Those ones here in black I have not scanned at all yet. Some of them I have yet to encounter, some of them I may just have forgotten to scan. So yeah, those ones that I only scanned once, again I will show you with another one. I don't even know where they are. I know their armor and their health, but that's about it. So let's look at one that I've scanned completely. Let's take one of the basic enemies. If I can find one, they are probably higher up because they usually require more scans in order to have the full amount of information about them. Let's go to the very top and look at the Elite Lancer, which is kinda a standard Grenier soldier. So this is all the info that you get when you have them scanned completely. So you need to scan this one 5 times to get all the info. I have scanned 113 of them, which kinda makes sense. And again, it is kinda part of another mechanic why it makes sense to keep scanning them. But that is for another video. So what info do we have? We know his name, we know his faction, we know his armor, but we also know which damage types he is resistant and vulnerable to. As you can see here, the green ones do more damage than normal and the red ones do less damage. So this means puncture damage, ice damage and radiation damage are good against his armor, but slash damage, electric damage and magnetic damage are bad against it. And against his flash, which is beyond the armor, you have flash, fire and viral as effective kinds of damage, and impact and I think that's gas are ineffective. And I will talk about damage types and how you get those in the first place again when we get to the arsenal. So as you can already see, there's a couple of varying damage types, and the damage types that you'd best take with you into the mission depend on your enemies that you have. So that's one thing that's really handy to have right in the game. This information you don't get until you have an enemy fully scanned. But you also keep getting more information about what they drop. And the information gets higher, you get information about the higher rarities as you scan them more. So this is common, uncommon and rare drops. Bronze or grey in this case, silver and gold. Sorry. And those are the things that you can drop. Those are all mods. So the Elite Lancer can drop the mods Quick Draw, Redirection, Revenge, an uncommon Fusion Core, the mod Razor Shot, Crossing Snakes, Thunderbolt and Undying Will. So this is all the info that you get from scanning an enemy, and you have it all in the game. That is definitely one reason to scan them completely. Again, you can look all this up in the wiki, but you would have to go out of the game to do that. This way you can do it within the game, which is great. This again goes for all the enemies, and you can also sort the codex by the enemy types. So here is a list of all the Grineer enemies that you can encounter. Some of them are only on certain nodes. For example, the Drekar Lancer and all the Drekar Grineer are on Uranus. The Arid Grineer are on Phobos. The Frontier Grineer are on Earth, and the normal ones are on every other Grineer mode, pretty much. Then there's all the Corpus enemies, so this would actually be a good moment to also talk about the factions a bit. So let's go back to the Grineer. The Grineer are, as you can maybe see, armor-wearing soldiers. They are, for the most part, heavily armored, so good damage types to take with you against them are Puncture and Corrosive, because those are good against armor, and especially the heavy gunners have a lot of armor and a lot of health. And as you can see, Puncture damage and Corrosive are good against their armor. So this is something to take into account when you are fighting a kind of enemy. So Grineer are the ones with the heavy armor and lots of assault rifles. The Corpus are kind of the high-tech faction. They have shields and they have laser guns, which also means they usually do not hit as hard as a Grineer. They do a lot of damage, but they are a bit worse at actually hitting you because their weapons have a travel time. And as you can see down here was the message that one of my items in the foundry got finished. So when you are in the game, you will get a little pop-up whenever something finished producing, and I will talk about the foundry in the next video, that's for sure. So, as I said, the Corpus are the high-tech faction. They have a couple soldiers, as you can see here, the crewmen in various kinds. They have mowers, which are like bipedal robots that have laser guns on their back. As you can see here, they have shields and they are robotic. And a good weapon to take against them is always something with impact damage and magnetic damage. Personally, when I want something that is generally good, I take Puncture and Corrosive damage with me, simply because Corpus don't have as much life. And if you for some reason happen to not want to switch gear and loadouts between every mission like I do, then you just take what is good for all of them. So yeah, Corpus, robots, high-tech and shields. The thing with shields is they regenerate, of course, so if you don't kill them and give them time, their shields will get back up. Then there is Infestation, which are all organic. If you played Mass Effect 3, you can kinda think, no, I forgot what the faction was called. I actually forgot. Yeah, so if you played Mass Effect, you will probably know which one I'm talking about. So they are organic, they have things like poison, they are mostly melee focused, and they are fairly strong in numbers, so they will come swarming at you. And while you can kinda go stealth on Corpus and Grineer and make sure that they don't notice you and can hide from them, as soon as you attack a couple infested, they will come for you, and there's no way to make them not come for you anymore. They will just keep coming. So as you can see, very organic, kinda annoying. They can be fairly deadly if you don't watch out, but that goes for all of the factions. Then there's wildlife that you can see, the Kubros. Those are wild Kubros, which are also the source of the Kubro eggs that you need in order to breed new Kubros, can be found on Earth. And the desert skates, which are like little manta thingies that travel under the Earth and then come up to attack you, can be found, as you can see, on Mars and Phobos, though I have yet to find them on Mars. I this far have only seen them on Phobos. Then there is the Orokin, which you will encounter in the Orokin Void tower missions, maybe you notice they are a bit of a mix. They have crewmen, they have butchers, which are Grindr, the heavy gunners are Grindr, but they also have corrupted ancients from the infested. So they are a mix of all the three factions. So you sort of fight all of them at once there with a much slower roster. So as you can see, that's all of them. That is all the Orokin enemies that you can encounter. And then last but not least, I will show them because there's not too much of a mystery behind it. If you don't want to see it, look away for a couple seconds. The Sentients, which you will encounter during one of the quests, and they are the most recent added faction, are kinda weird. Kinda robot sci-fi things that are actually fairly strong compared to the others. So that's, as I already mentioned, that's the 5 factions. I mentioned the 5 factions in the previous video. Grindr, Corpus, Infested are the 3 main ones, and they are the Orokin and the Sentient. The wildlife does not count that much really, because they are kinda neutral. You encounter them, they attack you, yes, but there is no missions dedicated to fighting them. So that's almost all of this covered. Last one that we have left are the mods. So what are mods about? Mods are used to improve your items, to improve your gear. And as you can see, when I slowly scroll through here, there is a lot of mods, and as you can see here, all of those that are darkened out, I do not have yet. But as you can see, there is really a lot of mods. You can kind of think of them as, well, I guess kind of mods, but also sort of cards or something like that. And you use them to improve your items, but also to cater them a bit to your playstyle. And I will not talk too much about them yet, because I will talk in a bit more detail about them and mod ranking when I come to the mod console, and I will talk more about using mods when I come to the arsenal. But as you can see, a lot of mods. I will go through the tabs up here real quick. So as you can see, there's mods for your Warframes, there is auras, which again you use for your Warframe. Then there's augments that change your abilities. I talked about those a bit when I was talking about syndicates. There is a lot of mods for primary weapons, secondary weapons, melee weapons. Then there is stances, which are again used for your melee weapons. There is Archwing mods. There is mods for the Archwing range weapons, mods for the Archwing melee weapons, mods for sentinels, mods for Kubros, which are not as many yet, and then there is cores. Actually, the fusion cores are missing here. Those cores that are listed here can be obtained from Cephalon Semaris, which is a funny little character who you can encounter in the relays, and who also has one of the quests for you there. One of the quests, actually, the Stolen Dreams, I think starts there, so I will talk briefly about that when I show you around the relays. There's one more thing about the mods, and this is why it is kinda helpful to have enemies scanned completely, because you maybe notice at the bottom that there is some names showing under drop sources. So let's look at the magazine warp here, for example. It's a mod that increases your magazine capacity for your rifles. So you want that. How do you get that? As you can see at the bottom, it shows you which enemies drop that mod. But it only shows you which one if you have them scanned far enough. I don't know. I have to keep the mouse here, so I can't show you directly now. But I'm fairly sure you will see that there's one field that says undiscovered. So aside from all the other enemies listed, there's one more enemy type that I have not even scanned enough yet to know which common mods they drop that drop this mod. And this is why I personally find scanning enemies really helpful, because if I'm looking for a specific mod, then I can just go in here and see which mob it drops, and then I can go into the enemy codex. Let's say, for example, Speed Trigger. It is dropped by the Juggernaut B, whichever that might be. It's a Juggernaut Behemoth, and a Charger. So you want that mod, so you know it is dropped by those enemy types. You go to enemies. The best way would be to sort it by name then. And then you look for the Charger, which is here. It's an infested enemy. And then you can check in which regions they can be encountered. And here you can again see they drop the speed trigger. So you're looking for speed trigger, your best bet is to go for infestation missions. So this is why I personally find it really helpful to scan your enemies. There's a bunch of mods that I personally would call helpful, especially at the start, and there's a bunch of mods that are kinda default used in every loadout. Some of them are being removed, and again it is something that I will talk about when I get to the arsenal. So that was it for the Codex. One last thing I'd like to mention, because I was talking about that, and just to make sure. Yes, the Stolen Dreams quest is the one that starts when you are talking to Cephalon Semaris in the relay. So that was it for the Codex. I hope this video was again helpful for you and helped you a bit to know what all those things on the liset are for or on your ship. I will end this video here because now finally we are next gonna go down into the orbiter, where we come to all the gameplay affecting stations in the ship, which will contain the foundry, the mod console and the arsenal, as well as the incubator. And in a separate video I might also talk about the secret door in the back of your orbiter. Maybe you remember that one. So, as usual, if you like the video, feel free to give me a thumbs up. I hope this video was helpful for you. Leave a comment if you want, positive or negative. Everything is appreciated because it can only help me. And if you don't want to miss my upcoming videos, don't forget to subscribe. Also, at the bottom of the video, no one will really use that now, but there will be a table of content for this video and all upcoming ones, so that you can jump quickly to any position within the video in case you just look for a particular topic. So this was me, Drennon, with more Warframe tutorials. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that I will see you again next time. Bye!